If you were in a hospital in Virginia, let's say, and you went into labor and you went to the hospital and then they saw you deliver, they would do everything possible to help that fetus survive.
Okay, but you won't.
We wouldn't.
Okay.
Well, that was Washington, D.C. abortionist Dr. Santangelo back in 2013, making that gruesome admission to an undercover mother working for Live Action, a pro-life organization. That same abortion clinic made headlines just last week where pro-life activists uncovered the bodies of 115 unborn babies. 5 of them are now in the hands of D.C. police, and Republican lawmakers are calling for their deaths to be investigated to ensure that no D.C. or federal laws were broken. And the abortion debate in America continues to heat up, with more and more red states making the push to preserve life. Today, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signed a near-total abortion ban into law, under which abortionists could face up to 10 years in prison and fines of up to $100,000. Here to react to this all is the founder and president of Live Action, Lila Rose. Lila, thanks for being here. It's always good to see you. I want to start with this news out of D.C. where 5 babies were found, late-term pregnancies, in the home of this pro-life activist Lauren Handy, who says she wanted to give these babies proper burial. That's why she had them. You and conservative lawmakers are calling for Mayor Bowser and the D.C. police to conduct autopsies. I understand that you have not heard back. You don't even know where these babies are at this point. But talk to me about the legal implications here, because D.C., as you know, you can have an abortion up to 9 months of pregnancy.
Well, it all centers around the documentation of these children's bodies. So the activists were outside the abortion clinic. A whistleblower delivery for the medical waste company gave them a box of the children's remains. And upon opening that box, they discovered the bodies of 5 infants, some of them nearly full term, fully developed children. Medical experts, Live Action sent a documentation team there to film the remains of the children, and we shared them with almost a dozen medical experts who expressed their concern that these babies may have been born alive. They were viable. One child looked like she was the victim of an illegal partial birth abortion. So this beautiful baby girl, maybe 28 weeks old, had her neck cut, her brain suctioned out. So these bodies were given to the DC police, and we've been urging the DC mayor and the police to do a proper investigation. But as of just a few days ago, the mayor finally responded. They've been sitting on the evidence of these bodies now for 2 weeks. And the mayor finally responded just a few days ago, saying that they are not investigating, effectively saying, we're not investigating the crimes against these children. She just ignored the children altogether and instead said that they're investigating the pro-life activist. So there's a serious cover-up of potential federal crimes happening right now in the District of Columbia. And meanwhile, these 5 children who are mercilessly killed, and potentially 2 federal laws being violated, the Born Alive Infants Protection Act, because some of these children may have been born alive and then killed, and the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act, and yet there's no justice being carried out and not even an investigation, which is why people are calling for justice to be had for the 5 children.
It's just horrific. You know, we showed that video of you showing this abortionist on camera admitting to the fact that he would leave, if a baby was born alive, that he would just leave it to die, which is actually illegal. But how do you find wrongdoings in these? Because once a baby is aborted, it's put, as you mentioned, in these medical waste bins. And so if it's not, being handed off to someone like this pro-life activist, then how can you find wrongdoings if these abortionists are going out of their way to not follow the law?
That's a great question. This is a commercial industry that's been built up to profit off of the deaths of children. And in some vicinities like D.C., the District of Columbia, abortion is legal through all 9 months. So how could there even be justice for a little baby boy or girl who's viable, who's 30 weeks old or 32 weeks old, who is being aborted at Santangelo's clinic, but instead is born alive, which happens because you have to induce labor in a late-term abortion. And if that baby is born alive in that abortionist clinic, he's going to want to kill that child to complete his job. How will there ever be justice for those children? That is exactly the question at hand. The fact that we've allowed and permitted the destruction of these children, including these viable children, we should not be surprised that infanticide is also being carried out, that illegal abortion methods are being used. But as long as there are pro-abortion politicians, like those that run Washington, D.C., like Mayor Bowser, Muriel Bowser, like the D.C. Medical Examiner's Office, run by these pro-abortion progressives, you're not going to see justice even for born alive infants, even for victims of infanticide. So we have to keep the pressure on and expose this to the country, because the extremism here and the disrespect for human life is chilling.
It is, and I thank you for doing that every day. Before we go, I mean, some positive news. We are seeing these red states starting to take abortion on in a real way. Oklahoma today, the governor there signing into law that it would actually, abortionists could go into prison, fines for them. We're seeing more and more red states, I feel like every week, starting to do something. Do you feel like the shift is because people are expecting a certain ruling from this Supreme Court, Dobbs versus Jackson case, or people starting to fundamentally understand what the science tells us, that this is a life in the womb, and that abortion is killing a human? It's just not a piece of tissue. Only about 40 seconds left for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both and. I think the Supreme Court will likely do major damage to Roe v. Wade and permit these states to have these pro-life laws. And also, America's waking up. You know, you see the bodies of those 5 infants killed in D.C. and thrown into a medical waste bucket, and you can't help but see their humanity. They're human beings. They deserve to live, and that's why these states are passing legal protections. The whole country should be passing legal protections for children, not just born, but unborn.
Lila Rose, again, thank you for what you do with Live Action and standing up for life. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.